Hey, Jen.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Hey,
Morning.
Rob. How are
Morning.
you? Hey, Rob. How are you?
Well, how's everybody?
Great,
Good.
thank you.
Everybody who just joined us in the last minute or so, can you please check in on the chat there so that we know that we have a quorum?
In progress.
Hi, who just joined us by phone?
Steve Mascaro.
Oh, hi, Steve.
Steve.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, and this is Jennifer Nestor from Labor and Industry.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer.
Good morning.
Hey, Jen, I'm gonna let it go to 31, and then will you let us know if we have a quorum?
Sure will. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody, if you haven't done so yet, just register your presence in the chat, please.
One second.
Laura, we are a little shy of quorum.
How many do we need?
We need 3 more.
Okay. So wait for a little bit here. If you haven't signed in yet in the chat, please do so.
Bye.
You can't. So we need 2 more, Jen.
Two more.
Hey, Jen, are you able to drop a quick email prompt to anybody who's missing?
Sure can.
I just saw Scott join, so you have one more left, right?
Mhm. Madam Governance Chair, can you help me count here and just make sure where we are?
Yep. I think you still need one, right, Jen?
One shy.
Yeah.
Rob, not to put you on the spot, but can you text Chief Wheatley to see if he's able to join us? We are good.
Yay.
Yay.
Excellent. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for your patience in getting going. Chair Malone is unavoidably unavailable today. So I'm going to jump into his role. And are there anybody who has not identified themselves in the chat? Please go ahead and do that if you joined late. And I am confirming that as we look at the scan, we do have a quorum present. I want to start off by acknowledging the retirement and resignation, respectively, of Frank Stasko from Labor and Industry and Duke Rupert of the Allegheny Health Network. And we would be remiss if we didn't pause briefly to just really thank them for their service and for all that they brought to this board. We're going to start with the consent agenda, which was included in your packet and includes a number of items, including the approval of minutes, accepting grants, and awarding of contracts. Before we move into that, does anybody want to move any item onto the regular agenda for additional discussion? Does anybody want to abstain from any of these matters? Dr. Bullock, Jeff Novers, Tim Holt, Dave Copeland. Might
I
wanna-
have to abstain.
Yes, Carrie Harris abstains.
The air looks a little better today. A little bit.
So you all might
Yeah.
want to mute yourselves if you're not talking. And so I'm hearing abstentions from Dr. Bullock,
Yes.
Carrie Harris. Did I hear you, Carrie? Yep. Dave Copeland. Jeff or Tim, are you on?
Yes, I abstain.
I also have to abstain.
Okay. Subject to those abstentions on voting on the contracts, are there any other abstentions, objections, items of discussion with respect to the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, that consent agenda is approved. Thank you. Audit and finance. Steve and Kristen, do you want to walk us through the fiscal 24 budget?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing that we're presenting is a budget for today. Two quick high level points that we're going to present here are proposing a 15% or $4 million increase to our budget from the prior year. And also overall WIO funding has increased almost 4% from the previous year. So that'll be the precursor for Kristen to take you into the details.
Thanks, Steve. I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Hopefully you can see this. So this is our statement of activities. And, you know, I am very excited, as Steve mentioned, we are increasing from prior year budget $4 million. We're projecting to have a $30 million budget this year, which I think is the highest Partner4Work has ever seen. So this is just kind of a step by step here of each program, We Owe Youth, and you can kind of see the details. Not sure this is super helpful unless you're a numbers person. So we'll move down to the next sheet, which is a statement of activities comparison. This is actually showing the variance by program from fiscal year 22-23 budget to the 23-24 projected budget. Specifically looking at our WIOA cluster here, we are projecting an $85,000 increase. But when you dive down into the details, you could obviously see the youth and adult are projecting the increase. Dislocated worker is trending low. So the current trend is we are serving less dislocated workers compared to adults being served, and we did reflect that in our budget. TANF youth and adult both are projecting increases. Priority populations is projecting almost a $530,000 increase. We are including additional projects that we are projecting for the upcoming year, including our newly awarded DOJ funding. I believe we just received our Reentry State Award as well. And then this also, we do have Midwest Urban Strategies Pathways Home Grant that's in here that is going to be sunsetting next year. I believe it's projected to end December 31st on 2024. Sector strategies definitely has the largest increase in the budget of $2.7 million from prior year. This is our new area where policy and research team falls under, and with our priorities pointing towards labor market research, industry partnerships, we have secured additional PA SMART funding in the areas of healthcare, manufacturing, and financial, just to name a few. We also have received new foundation support for the upcoming year, which is very exciting. We received new funding through Clean Energy, Build Back Better, Apprenticeship Building America. I definitely have to say this division is stronger and more robust than in past years. And, I feel that definitely Susie Pushkar, thank you. Kudos to your team for, pushing this forward and really bringing our team up. Okay, I'm going to move down to the activities comparison, and this will go by expense category. So here you can really start to see that the majority of our $4 million increase is going through direct program expenditures. So in this, we have increased TANF, WIOA Youth, TANF Youth have increases of $500,000 and $258,000 respectively. WIOA Adult has an increase of $131,000. Offsetting that, dislocated worker does have a slight decrease, a decrease of $500,000. Priority populations direct service, we are increasing $451,000 compared to prior year, again, related to our DOJ funding and the state funding that we received. And then sector strategies, again, holds the lion's share of direct program expenses going out the door at $2.3 million with the additional secured funding we have. Salaries and benefits are increasing $300,000, primarily due to two reasons. One, we have built in a 3% increase across the board for our staff, which is including a cost of living and a merit increase. Also, though, over the past year, I know we've really strategized and looked at our organizational structure. We've removed 8 positions. We've added 9 positions. And I am going to flip down just to show, this is management in general. You can kind of see that we really are being thoughtful and mindful when we are looking at our organizational structure at our management and general costs, and they are $87,000 less in salaries, wages, and benefits. Even though the overall we're increasing the management in general, we are trying to keep low. Communications is increasing by $185,000. This is directly related to our strategic plan initiatives. We have secured funding through the Hillman Foundation grant. We also projected an increase here with additional funding to update coverage of our webpage and on our internal webpage. Contracted services is increasing slightly by $65,000. And again, I'm going to go down to M&G here to show you that under contracted services, under management in general, it's increasing by $105,000. We are looking for additional cultural planning, consulting, graphic design services, and also fund development contractor that's included in this area. Jumping down to information technology services, we are projecting almost a $90,000 increase. This is primarily due to all the increases that we've seen over the past year for IT services and software. The trend has just gone up in the past several years, so we've reflected that in our budget. In addition to that, we are also budgeting for a software called Sector Connect, which is a youth job board that will connect a countywide repository for businesses to be able to post for young people for jobs. Jumping down to travel and conference, we are projecting an increase of $81,000. We have really thought through this and want to encourage our staff and be able to get them the training tools they need to be successful in their jobs. We also feel that this will help mitigate turnover and retain good talent that we have. Are there any questions on these couple sheets that I've reviewed so far?
This is Quentin. I have a question.
Yes.
Does the information technical service include funding to support cybersecurity management and/or training?
Quentin, when you say cybersecurity training, like
Or staff training, just to ensure that staff are aware of things not to open, to minimize getting hacked, as well as software to protect the organization with cyber protection.
So I know we do have cyber insurance that we purchased that does help that protection. And as for training, I think that's something maybe would not fall under IT, but would fall under consulting services, contracted services up here. I don't think we have anything specifically in there, but we do contract with SEVA, and I'm sure that they, and Rob, I'm sure maybe you could speak more to this, but I'm pretty sure they send out, Quentin, they've been sending out like phishing emails to our staff to see if people are biting. But Rob, can you confirm that?
Yeah, sure, that's correct. And it's a huge concern, and it affects us two ways. One, when specific phishing emails come in, it's usually one staff that kind of picks up on it. But it's also through text message also. So even sometimes myself, I'll get a call from someone that says, did you just send me a text message? And I have to say no. So, I mean, we're all vulnerable to these things in certain ways. When we identify specific emails that just don't look right, we do send out all staff messages. And then our contractor, SEVA, is also aggressively kind of looking at, specific emails to the point sometimes that some of our regular emails go to spam, and then we have to clear them for that specific message from that person to now be able to kind of hit our inbox. So they're always looking at, specific indicators that would move a particular email to spam. But as far as an organizational training, that's something that we should definitely look at in the future to make sure that everyone is on the same
Kristen, I believe
page.
Dr. Washington also had a question.
Okay. Dr. Bullock, thank you so much for your question. That was a great question.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Washington, you have a question? Hello? I must have bad internet.
I can't hear anything.
I can't, I'm freezing. I'm gonna hide my video. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear
But
you also.
I can't hear Rob.
Yeah,
No.
I'm getting an email that the internet is unstable.
Oh,
I received the same message.
me
Good
too.
thing Dr. Bullock just asked this question. Okay. Can you hear us now, Nancy?
I can hear you all, but I still can't. Who's talking? Dr. Bullock? Can I ask?
No, I'm not talking now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so hopefully we're reset here. Could I just sort of pile onto Dr. Bullock's comment and make a suggestion? You know, we're seeing a very significant uptick on affirmative action by state actors to disrupt important government systems by malware and then basically holding the information hostage until you pay the ransom. And I just think it would be really important that we undertake sort of an assessment of what we have. Do we need additional training? Do we need additional consulting or technology to make sure we're best in class on that issue? I know the state of Pennsylvania is doing a lot of thinking about that issue as well. And I think it might be really terrific if we could add a report out on that to the next board meeting, certainly the next executive committee meeting. Is that something we could do, Rob? Just to make sure we're exactly where we need to be. All right, perfect. Anybody else on that topic? And Jen just texted, can you raise your hands? I hate to be primitive here, but can you raise your hand if you can hear? Raise your hand if you can hear the conversation.
I can hear.
Okay, all right. I think we're good then. All right.
Can I ask a question on a different topic?
Absolutely.
So we have policy and research as an area getting additional funding. Have we hired new people in that area, policy and research, or are we beefing up the staff that we already have in that area? How is that going? Policy and research.
If I could just put a pin in that, I have a 15-minute presentation right after this.
Fabulous. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on budget?
Laura, I think Ike still has a question, and I do have one extra thing to share.
Okay, great. Ike?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to Dr. Bullock's comment. As I understood what he was saying is he wanted to know if people were being trained to avoid hacking, basically. I just wanted to add that the Steelworkers put a pretty extensive program in for every employee that's video-based. And people go through a series of videos, take a little bit of a test, and then get sort of certified on that. And it's awareness, and it's pretty interesting stuff. So there are ways to do this training that may not, be direct, but also, are available and can get an entire workforce. We've got a pretty big workforce there, up to speed. And it's interesting stuff.
Thanks, Ike.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share one last thing here. This is our pie chart of revenue that you could see just how it's sliced and diced. I think it's a very nice visual. You could see our management in general lies at 7%, which is pretty impeccable. We have our youth, adult, and dislocated worker cluster here in orange, gray, and yellow. That's 37%. Our TANF youth and TANF adult make up 28% of our revenue. Priority populations, which is previously ex-offender, we've kind of changed the name a little bit there to priority populations, is 3%. And this is sector strategies, which is seeing the biggest change from prior year. Last year, this was 5%. This year, you could see it's 13%. And we have our 12% under learn and earn. The comparison graph down here speaks for itself. You can kind of see the increases and decreases there. The largest being sector strategies from last year to this year. And I just definitely want to thank my finance committee, Brandon, Dave, Mark, Carrie, John Thomas, and definitely Steve for all your support and always diving into the details with me. And I definitely want to thank Susie, Carl, Jen, and Rob for working through the budget process with us this year with me. I feel that, this budget's going to come to fruition with the folks we have in place. And, we have a really good staff, and I thank everyone for their help. Are there any other questions on the budget? If not, I do believe we need an action to recommend the full board to accept the fiscal year 23-24 budget as presented.
Great. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. That budget is approved.
Thanks, Laura.
Kristen, thank you for your usual spectacular job. Really helpful in terms of the presentation, the organization of the information, really just outstanding. Steve, I see one thing from Carrie. Steve, before I ask you if we have anything else. Carrie?
I was just clapping my
Oh.
little
Sorry, my old eyes, I can't discern between a hand raise and a clap. I'm going to get with the program, I promise. Steve, anything else for audit and finance?
No, I think that's it. I'll just echo what you just said. Kristen and her team have great passion and always a great handle on not an easy financial system that we have. It's money coming in, money coming out, different programs, and excellent work. So I could second what you said about Kristen and her team. So thank you.
Great, and thank you too. I mean, you're a fantastic chair of this committee and we all benefit from it, so thank you. Learn and Earn Youth Advisory, Debbie Kaplan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to provide a very positive update about both subjects. So first, regarding Learn and Earn, as many of you know, we've been working with the city and the county to establish a 3-year memorandum of understanding versus an annual memorandum of understanding. And not only is that memorandum of understanding final, but it really marks the first time that the memorandum of understanding has been signed before the program starts, which is huge. So many thanks to Chief Wheatley and Aaron Dalton for making this happen. And of course, to the staff for making this happen. I know you all know, for those of you who've been around for a while, this is a big achievement. Secondly, I'm pleased to announce that with our partners at phase 4, we've met our enrollment goal for the corporate program, and we had 40 young people starting at corporate placements last week, including a very bright and dynamic young lady, Talia, who's working with the Partner4Work communications team. So she's going to be working this summer on social media, video, and photography. And I know we'll see the fruits of her labor, of her work. And finally, for the first time, we have closed the application period on time. And as of June 9th, we received a total of 3,797 applications. And of them, 1,751 are eligible for the general program, which surpasses the eligible total from last year. So far, we've placed a little more than 1,400 young people into jobs. And we have 169 individuals on the wait list, and another 281 applications are under review. And again, you know, while it's not unusual for us to have a wait list for the program, the list is a bit longer this year. So we're making every effort to continue to place eligible applicants into available positions. And I know I've talked to Rob about it, talked to the team, and they're still working hard on that. And then on another note, as you saw in the consent agenda, we received $25,000 from the Taco Bell Foundation to support Learn and Earn, which is terrific. And with the Taco Bell Foundation, we're going to be launching a quote unquote Supreme Dream Job video competition with this year's interns. And so the entries are going to be shared on Instagram, and they'll be open to the public for voting. And the top 3 entries are going to receive prizes. So I look forward to sharing the winners at our next board meeting, but I hope you'll take a moment to review all entries at the end of July, which I'm sure Jen will be sharing out. So it's a great report. You know, I got to thank Rob, Carl, everybody, Mayada, Marquise. I'm sure I'm missing many people on the team, but this is really a great effort and a very positive report. I'll move on to youth and then ask any questions. So on the youth programs in May, the adult and youth program teams executed the first ever Partner4Work Summit to highlight the strengths of our youth, adult, and priority population providers, and to focus intentional collaboration through the network of providers. Some of the topics that were included was about PA Career Link 101. There was a labor market presentation. 14 elements of the WIOA programs were presented. They talked about effective employer engagement and training and credentialing. And in total, there were more than 115 people who attended the 2-day event at the Energy Innovation Center, and all feedback received was very positive. I had the honor of being there, and I spoke for a few minutes, and I listened to some of the great interaction going on and talked to some of the providers. And I think it was great. Again, congratulations to Carl and Mayada on putting that together. So as I understand it, Andy's gonna show us right now for a minute a short video, or Jen's gonna show it to us. That's narrated by Andy Smith that highlights the summit and the call for similar training opportunities. So Jen, if you could start the video, that would be great.
I would love to. Can folks hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm having some computer troubles. Beg your pardon. I'm having some computer troubles, so I may have to share the videos after.
Okay, that's fine. But I really encourage all of you to watch the video, because I think it really does, say it all. And then there is also a link to the Connect4Work webpage in the chat. And if you're interested, all the presentations can be found there. So again, congrats to the staff. I think it was really a great beginning to the summer and excellent continuation of our work with youth and the programming team. So any questions?
Great. Thank you so much, Deb. Any questions, comments, observations?
And Jen just gave the YouTube link to watch at your leisure after the meeting.
And it's short and it's really powerful. So do take a moment to take a look at it. It's really good.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yes. Well,
Okay, great. Just a quick comment. Just want to thank Debbie Kaplan again for your leadership with our specific youth department. Thank you so much. But also to say that, like Debbie said, we've experienced a larger wait list than previous years. We look at that as a great thing, that we're reaching out to more young people and they're more interested in the program. And just want to thank the city and the county again for their partnership in regards to this work and getting the word out to young people. Regardless of the wait list, we will make sure that we share some resources with every kid that has reached out to us seeking a job this summer. We are currently, we always have this period where we're working off a wait list, and some kids, decide or families decide that the kid can't have a job that specific summer. And then, we pull young people off the wait list and put others on. But we're assuring that every young person will get something this year who's reached out and eligible for the program.
so for everybody on this board too, if you don't have somebody working in your workplace, or if you know of people who might have an interest in working with some of these kids, be in touch with the team, because we are looking for other opportunities for kids. It's an amazing program. It's a great opportunity. And people who are on this call, just sort of passing the word about that around can make a real difference. So please do that. Please be thoughtful and creative, and let the team know. If you don't have the time to run down a lead, just let them know. They'll run down the lead. Just make a quick warm introduction. There are a lot of things that we can do to help our staff clear that list. And it's real important that we do that, because these kids, took the time to apply and to really think about this, and we want to make that be a success. Hey, Jake, how are you? Good to see you. I don't know if you were here when we all thanked you for everything that you did for the Learn and Earn program this summer. So thank you.
And Laura, I also not only obviously thanking Aaron and Jake, but I also want to thank so many of our corporate partners that are on the screen for their support of the corporate intern program. I mean, you all really make a big effort and dig in, and we really appreciate it. So I didn't mean to neglect to say that. It's huge. So thanks again for the corporate support.
Terrific. Okay. Anything else on Learn and Earn Youth Advisory? Deb, thank you as always for all of the work you do. Just spectacular, great report. Thank you, and congratulations for all the progress that you guys have made. It's outstanding. All right, as promised, labor market presentation, Susie, and Nancy Washington's going to be listening hard, and I think she has a placeholder for a question here, so take it away.
Absolutely. I want to thank Nancy for building the anticipation of this presentation. So let me share my screen here. I'm going to start with a little bit on the labor market and what's going on in the labor market right now that we see, and then talk further about the policy and research team and what the policy and research team has accomplished over the last year and where we are looking to go in the next year. So Here we go. You may have seen in the news last month or the month before that there were 50,000 jobs lost in Allegheny County between 2017 and 2022. We really wanted to dig into this number and figure out what was going on. We know some of what was going on, but not everything. So just kind of a high level of what we see. And I will give my standard disclaimer that I only play an economist on the Zoom screen. I'm not actually an economist. So if you would like to actually figure out what's going on, then we can put you in contact with people who have PhDs in this arena. But when we look at the 50,000 jobs that were lost, the plurality of those jobs were in accommodation and food service, retail trade, and the clunkily named administrative and support and waste management and remediation services, which importantly includes a lot of kind of frontline administrative office support staff. So as you look at the 7 percentage point decline in jobs in Allegheny County over the last 6 years, this is the kind of broad overarching number, but it will be important, and I'll show you on the next slide, what that looks like year over year. There were some increases in jobs over the last 6 years, predominantly in professional, scientific, and technical services, management of companies and enterprises, and transportation and warehousing. But we'll look at a couple of other numbers here that will help explain a little bit about what's going on. So we broke out these changes based on year because we know that something very dramatic and different happened in 2020 that has never happened before. So when the pandemic hit, we saw considerable declines in employment across the country, and Allegheny County was no different. We had an overall 8% decline in that year, whereas we had been growing slowly the previous years. And it's important to note that Allegheny County always grows very slowly when it comes to employment. This is not new for us. A lot of it is related to demographics, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But because of the way that our county is structured, because of a low birth rate and a natural population decline, then we do grow more slowly than a lot of regions. In 2020, you see that across the board, jobs declined. There were very few industries that saw increases during that pandemic year. There were a few utilities, obviously. Agriculture, fishing, and forestry is so small that these numbers are pretty irrelevant. It's about 250 jobs. So that giant increase is 250 jobs that we saw in 2021. So scale is important here. But you saw that in 2020, a lot of these jobs declined, and then they started to come back in 2021 and 2022. But something that's really important is that the way that we live, the way that we operate has changed. People are switched over to shopping more on Amazon and getting their food delivered and getting their groceries delivered. So all of those things led to significant increases in gig economy jobs, and we saw those increases in transportation and warehousing jobs, but the declines have come at the expense of restaurant jobs, of retail jobs, of those frontline jobs that often serve as that first point at which someone enters the labor market for young people, which is why Learn and Earn continues to be a really strong priority for us. But also have opportunities to kind of look at those jobs and where we can move forward with creating career pathways for individuals that used to work in those fields. This is not all bad news, though, in the labor market. Laura, do you have a question? Okay, you're muted, so I'm assuming you said no. Go ahead and we'll get to the end. I can only see Laura, Debbie, and Rob, so anybody else will have to either come off of mute or jump into the chat.
I can't see the last column after 2020. Is
Hey,
there?
Nancy, if you size your screen, if you put your cursor in the little corner.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so it's not all bad news in the labor market. Even though jobs have decreased, the unemployment rate continues to decrease as well in Allegheny County, as well as Pennsylvania and the United States. The labor force participation rate continues to slowly but surely increase. So we're seeing that the people who are out of work are able to get jobs very quickly, typically, and they are not staying out of work for terribly long. Now, that means that a lot of the folks who are coming into the PA CareerLink system are facing more significant structural barriers to employment. And so part of what we're doing on the policy and research team that we'll get into is working on job quality, working on building out programming with employers so that we can make certain that employers are prepared to access a new to them population when they are looking to hire these days. And Carl and his team and the team from Dynamic is doing amazing work building out what those supportive services need to look like for job seekers as they go into the labor force. We do know that the unemployment rate hides a lot of structural inequities, but there is some good news, and this suddenly switches to nationwide information. So the employment to population ratio is not available at the Allegheny County level this frequently, but something unique has happened that has never yet happened in our country's history, and that is that the employment population ratio of Black Americans is the same as the employment population ratio as white Americans. So that means for every 100 Black individuals in the country, they are as likely to be working as for every 100 white individuals in the country. This is good news. It means that there are additional opportunities out there and employers are doing a better job of hiring Black workers. It's also in all likelihood driven by the fact that a lot of older workers retired during COVID and did not come back, and older workers are predominantly white. So we started to see that the white employment population ratio is not back to where it was pre-COVID. What this means, though, too, is that when there's a lot of demand for workers, as there currently is in the labor market, that employers have to be less likely to engage in racial discrimination, right? So those are changes that are happening, but what we're trying to do on the policy and research team is make sure that those changes persist. What we know is that the people who are marginally attached to the labor market are those who are most frequently laid off when a recession occurs. And so what we want to make sure is that the individuals who are being hired now have the supportive services, have what they need in order to be able to persist in their career paths. This also does not get at all into job quality. We don't have any look right now at whether the jobs that Black workers are going into are higher quality jobs than they have been in the past, but that's something we continue to dig into. So we know that there are not springboard jobs, right? That there are a lot of services that we can give to individuals to help them get from that entry-level work to a career pathway, but that just attaching someone to the labor force isn't enough. They need persistent help to be able to make sure that they can move from point A to point B. So we're looking at things like occupational segregation and how do we as a team help to support people as they move through these career pathways to make sure that they have access to careers at family sustaining wages. This is the other really important piece of this story, is that Allegheny County's population is getting older. So when you look at this map or this chart, 2011 is here in blue, 2021 is here in orange. So the two cohorts of population that grew in that time period are those 65 and older and those 25 to 44. We saw declines in the number of people who are 45 to 64. We often call these prime age workers, right? There are a lot of folks who are in leadership roles at companies, those 18 to 24 and those 0 to 17. So this is worrying that we're getting older and we don't have the high birth rates that we would need in order to be able to replace that natural population decline. It also means that the labor market in Allegheny County isn't likely to change dramatically anytime soon. And we need every possible person who is born in Allegheny County or who moves here to be able to access family sustaining work, because it is going to be more and more difficult. This is not a problem that's going to go away naturally for employers to find workers. It's going to be more difficult for them to find workers moving forward because of this aging population that we have. And the gap between individuals who are between the ages of 10 and 24 in Allegheny County and 25 and 39 is 55,000 people. There are 12% fewer young people in Allegheny County than that 25 to 39-year-old range. So we are getting older at a rate that we really do need to focus on in terms of job quality. Scott, you have a question?
Yes, Susie. Does this take in factor about how much remote work is being done? Because, when we look at our staff, there's a certain percentage of that's doing remote full-time work, but they're living in a little bit of a more younger place or a different place.
Sure. So the employment is based on the number of jobs that are based in the region, or in Allegheny County. So your company, if you hire someone and they are living in Austin, that counts as a job here in Allegheny County. So remote jobs are factored in, but we don't have great data. We are going to look at what we can find, but we don't have great data right now on how many people in Allegheny County are working remotely and where their employer of record is.
Yeah, because I think it could play a lot there, because I would run into some of especially my son's younger friends that say that they're working for a company in New York City, but they live here. So it's just another one of those changing demographics that we're seeing a lot, as far as remote workers are playing a big part of how we have to maintain our workforce.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely on the questions list.
And Susie, I think it's a reciprocal question too, right? How many people here are working for, as Scott says, a company in New York? Because that's also, I think the people who live here and have a job is the real focus, wherever that job may be. I think we need to understand that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Can I add something? I can't figure out how to raise my hand on this thing, so I apologize for that. But do we also have statistics about the underemployment or those who have fallen out of the job labor market that's not captured in our statistics? Because if we're not having the increase in birth rates, but maybe we should be focusing more on trying to target those who have fallen off our radar and maximizing what we do have. Do we have numbers like that, and what's our strategy to attack that?
Sure, that's a great question, Chief Wheatley. Thank you. The employment to population ratio gets closer to that than the unemployment rate. In order to be included in the unemployment rate, you have to have looked for work in the past month. So there's the short answer is there's no good federal statistic about who's underemployed. The longer answer is you'll hear in the next portion of my report that one of the things we're working on is a state of the workforce report. And this is one of those questions that we want to dig into, is who's dropped out, why have they dropped out, and how do we get them back into the labor market?
Nancy? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sorry. This might come up in your report then, but so we have national figures comparing Black and white in the workforce now, and it looks like it's about equal. But do we have Allegheny County figures on that, or Pittsburgh figures on that? And maybe this is something that you will address in your next program, in your next report. Also, Black workers are more likely to be in 3 areas: healthcare, retail, and food service. And it looks like we do have a big investment in retail and food service, but I'm wondering about how we are investing in the healthcare area, especially now in community healthcare workers. So that might also come up in the next part of your report.
The second question certainly does, so I'll save that one for how we're investing in healthcare. The first side of things, unfortunately, we can either get timely data, hyperlocal data, or disaggregated data. It's really hard to get all 3 of them in one data source. So we continue to try to get as local, timely, disaggregated data as we can, but don't have a great look at the employment population ratio, for instance, in Allegheny County right now.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, Susie, while we're interrupted you, can you go back a couple of slides to the one showing the declines over time? One more. So there are 4 areas, 5, sorry, areas that show really persistent declines that have not rebounded from COVID. I think mining and gas extraction, I think we understand. Manufacturing, we probably understand. but I'm a little bit surprised to see persistent declines in information and finance. And I'm wondering if we have some understanding of why that is, and then ditto government, I think we understand, but those two categories, information, finance / insurance, I'm surprised to see persistent declines.
Information is frequently thought to be information technology. It's actually libraries and news media and the like. So that's where that one's coming from. Finance and insurance, I can dig into that one and circle back.
Okay. And then another question that you may also be getting to too is, I think there are pretty widely predicted concerns about recession, short-term, long-term, people disagree, but have we done any kind of projection about what that recession, short or long, is likely to do here and how we plan to respond to it?
Typically, Allegheny County doesn't bear the same brunt. We dip lower in a recession and then come back more slowly. So that's been our typical historical look. I'm not predicting a recession. Again, not an economist, but I think our market is pretty strong. The layoffs that we're seeing across the United States tend to be in that information technology space. And so we're hearing a lot about them because they're big companies that are doing it. But a lot of that is just a correction to a lot of these companies grew really strongly during COVID when we were all stuck at home, and are kind of coming back down to maybe where they should have been without that monumental growth. So more to come, but you know, for the past year and a half, folks have been predicting a recession in the next year, and so far we've made it through a couple of quarters without one. So we'll keep looking at that though, for sure.
Thank you.
Of course. So to switch gears a little bit and talk instead about what the Policy and Research Department, which was formed in April of 2022, has done and is doing in order to help to advance this work. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of you for supporting me and supporting Rob and helping to make the decision to build out this team. I think, as you'll see, we've done some really amazing work in the past year. And I'm really grateful for the trust that you've placed in me and my team. Will see in your board book a link to the conversations that we had as a collective group last June to set some priorities on policy. All of that has informed the work that we've done in the last year. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to repeat those priorities, but they are in your board book to reference if you'd like. One of the things that the group said we heard it loud and clear in our strategic planning process as well, is that we needed to improve the tables that we're sitting at and create additional spheres of influence for the organization. So just a little bit about what we've been able to do on the policy and research side of the house and the policy side of the house in particular. And this work is driven by our incredible Senior Director of Policy and Data, Dylan Moore, who's on the call and has been just an incredible asset to the organization. So at the federal level, the White House Talent Hub designation came through for the city of Pittsburgh, which Rob will talk more about in a little bit, so I'm not going to steal any of that thunder. We are also part and leading a DOL Job Quality Academy group. Our colleague Bonnie Yeager is in DC right now with the Acting Secretary of Labor to talk about job quality with partners from Pittsburgh Public, Career and Tech, Allegheny Health Network, SEIU. So specifically looking at job quality in the healthcare space. Dylan also led the PA Congressional Hill Days for the National Skills Coalition, where we met with Senator Casey's office, Representative G.T. Thompson's office, and Representative Susan Wild's office to talk about the incredible work that we're doing here in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County and how the federal government can help support us in advancing that work. At the state level, we were part of a roundtable with the Lieutenant Governor and the not acting anymore, the confirmed Secretary of Labor and Industry, Nancy Walker, about tech apprenticeships and how they have changed the way that we do business related to information technology here in our region. Rob and Darren served on the Governor's Transition Committee. Our Senior Director of Youth Programs, Mayada Christensen, is currently working with the Career and Education Workforce Standards Committee to update the Career and Education Workforce Standards with the Department of Education. So we're pulling together the K-12 and the workforce development space. And our team sits on the state board's continuous improvement and industry partnerships committees. And then locally, we're working with a group of local boards on Build Back Better. It was just announced, thank you so much, Chief Wheatley, that the city of Pittsburgh has named us the anchor organization for the Talent Hub. And we also co-chair a superintendent's committee through the Allegheny Intermediate Unit to talk about workforce development in education. That is co-chaired by us and John Kreider, who is the superintendent of Carlinton Public Schools. Full disclosure, I am a Carlinton Public School Board member, so it really is a great opportunity for us to say, how do we align workforce and education and leverage the fact that we have a good working relationship with Carlinton. So these are all ways that we've helped to advance the influence of our work. The other thing that we have done recently is we've updated our state and local workforce development plans. So I'm going to call for a vote here, but I do have a little bit more in my presentation after this, but I want to make sure we get our business done. So we had to update our local workforce development plans for 2023 to 2025, as well as our regional workforce development plans for that same time frame. These plans were posted for public comment. They were shared with the board back in December. We did not receive any public comment, so the plans that are being submitted to the state are the same as those that you've already seen, but they lay out how we will advance our work and the work of our region in the next years or 2 years. So if I can take a pause and ask for a motion to approve the Three Rivers Local Workforce Development Area Local Workforce Plan modification for 2023 to 2025, and the Southwest PA Regional Workforce Development Plan modification for 2023 to 2025.
We have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Tim, thank you. Second.
I second. That's Quentin.
Thanks, Quentin. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any oppositions? Great. That is approved. Susie.
Great, thank you. So just a few other things that we've done on the policy side of the house. A few months ago, we promoted Dylan to oversee our data work as well. So congratulations to Dylan. We have used his team and we have added capacity. We do have one open headcount on Dylan's team. So if you know someone who's interested in research and wants to help lead our internal research efforts, please send them our way. We did add one other headcount in the past 6 months, or 2 months really, we found finally a labor market information researcher. So another Dylan Lukic has joined our team. So on the data side, we also added one additional headcount as a policy coordinator to help oversee all of this or help move all of this work along. And so that's the area where we've invested in quite a bit of staff over the past year to answer part of Nancy's question from earlier. So you'll see all of these reports are available on our website. One thing that was really important to me when we launched this group was to make sure that we reinvigorated our labor market information. So that first one pager you see there is our labor market information monthly report. We worked with the superintendents to create a case for career plans one pager. And then the installation, maintenance, and repair report that you see is one of a series of 8 or 9 on opportunity occupations that we co-developed with those superintendents. So we've now shared those career plans. They're also available on our website with all of the superintendents in Allegheny County. The success stories are all success stories from Partner4Work funded programs, and the How Do I Start information is all programs that we help to support or work closely with in partnership. So moving on to what our industry solutions team and industry partnerships team is focused on, we have 5 core industry focuses: construction, financial services, healthcare, information technology, and manufacturing. I'm going to put a pin in construction because I have a next slide for that on an exciting program we launched this week. But for financial services, you've heard quite a bit from us in the years about BankWorks. We've opened a new BankWorks location, or will open a new BankWorks location in McKeesport next month. On healthcare, we've launched 2 new registered apprenticeships with UPMC. Thank you so much to Tim and your team for your support there. We've helped on the Patient Care Technician Academy at Allegheny Health Network to help remove barriers to employment to individuals who are starting as patient care techs. We've built out a medical assistant pipeline with both UPMC and AHN, and we are working to activate our career and tech partners at the high school level, both in building out programming between Pittsburgh Public Schools and AHN, as well as the county schools and many UPMC locations. In information technology, we've launched 2 new apprenticeship programs. We're expanding Perscolas's locations here, and we're building out a pre-apprenticeship pathway with our out-of-school youth providers. And in manufacturing, you'll hear more in the next few months about Build Back Better as we advance that work regionally. And we have a program with Ike and the steelworkers to help develop additional training as needed. So to go back to construction for a moment, you may have seen that we launched the Pit to Work program. This is a huge lift from our senior director, or our director of industry strategies, Edgar Largaspada. Edgar is amazing if you haven't met him, but he has been working quite a bit with the Airport Authority on the significant federal investment that has gone into the Airport Authority, and with Jeff Nobers. I'm not sure if Jeff was able to join the call, but thank you so much, Jeff, for your support of this work. So 15 students started in the pre-apprenticeship program, Intro to the Construction Trades, at the airport on Monday. The airport has worked to become an employer of choice, and Intro to the Construction Trades has offered their training at the airport location with a guarantee that individuals who successfully graduate from the program will go on to the construction jobs at the airport for at least 6 months. And anyone who's not interested in joining one of the unions after intro, the airport has guaranteed that they will hire them. So this is a huge win, and there will be in the next cohort in September childcare at the airport for individuals who are working in the location. So there's a whole lot going into this project, but we're really excited for it and really excited for it to come to fruition. Sam.
Do we know what the demographics are of that first cohort based on race and gender?
So I can get close, right? I know there were 17 who were supposed to start and only 15 actually did. I don't know which 2 dropped out, but 85% of the individuals, or 14 of the 17 are Black, and 2 of the 17 are women. So once I find out from the intro group which 2 didn't join, then I can send out those final demographic numbers. But this is a real push to engage workers of color, engage women, and provide opportunities into good construction jobs at family sustaining wages. So we're really happy with where things are with this. And then the other thing that I want to make sure that you all hear about is how we've shifted our industry-led training and our industry-driven partnerships. So industry-led training for us, or work-based training, it is that someone is hired and then they go directly into training and they are paid while they are in training. So where you've heard, criticism of local boards in the past where folks are training and praying, well, that's really not what this is. And we have built out considerable pathways, 2 new tech registered apprenticeships, 3 new healthcare registered apprenticeships in the last year, and 5 more registered apprenticeships in development in healthcare, 2 more in tech, and 2 in clean energy, working with the Apprenticeship and Trade Office and working with local employers to bring those to the table. So this is a significant change. All of these individuals who are in registered apprenticeship programs are earning while they're learning. Those who are going through Apprenti are coming out of the program and they are making $70,000 to $80,000 a year after 1 year of training in those programs. We have built a 587% increase in work-based training participants. So those are people who have gotten jobs as a result of this training program. We've done that with only a 300% increase in the budget. And there's been a 137% increase in employers. So last year we had 8 employers participating in this. Only 1 of those employers didn't come back. And then we also increased the number of employers. So we are building sustainable relationships with businesses And a huge, huge thank you to this goes to Kiera Higgins, who's on the call, and her team over at Dynamic Workforce Solutions, who have figured out how do we get people into training very quickly, or as quickly as we can, given our bureaucratic hurdles through the PA career link system. So many thanks to the program team for being really responsive and just being able to see this vision and build it out with us together. We also are really focused as we do this work on job quality. So there are several job quality resources available on our website. We continue to build more based on priority populations, but we have job quality resources up there now for families, for workplaces that want to be recovery friendly for those individuals who are in recovery from substance use disorder, as well as reentry friendly workplaces. So more to come on this as the Job Quality Academy moves forward. And the big question is, how did we do all of this, right? And the foundation of this work is the project management office that we've built. So we added 3 headcount there since April of 2022, and we have 2 more open positions available now. The project management office comes in, they undergird all of the projects that we have, provide additional accountability. So the significant increase in our budget that Kristen has talked about is really because we've been able to drive this work through the PMO. They also are creating organization-wide KPIs that we will share with you at some point for our strategic plan, so that you will be able to see how we are holding ourselves accountable to the strategic plan that you created. And then with that, I just want to give you a little bit of a what comes next. So a comprehensive apprenticeship plan is in the works from my team. I mentioned a state of the workforce report. We're working with the University of Pittsburgh on that and starting to develop now what that will look like. We will continue to co-develop resources with K-12 and find out ways that we can link the workforce system in with the educational system. The Job Quality Academy and more resources will be coming out of that. And then I will leave the White House Talent Hub up to Rob to talk through. So thank you so much for all of your attention.
That's great.
Can I ask one other question?
Of course.
Before we move on, thanks. So first of all, thank you so much for that presentation. That was really informative and incredibly helpful. I guess I would be really interested in the future to hear a little bit more about our work around kind of re-entry friendly workplaces and recovery friendly workplaces. You know, I'm thinking about that particularly as the public health crisis facing the unhoused and those recovering from addiction and those re-entering into our workplace, it becomes more acute and more visible. And one of the things that we have discovered as a union is that even when we try to help, people find good jobs. In our case, that's a $20 an hour job in the janitorial industry. Corporate background check requirements are an immense barrier. And if you can't find a job cleaning an office building as a family sustaining job with good wages and benefits, we are shutting down probably a whole lot of other opportunities as well. And those are decisions by employers and by their clients and by building owners and others, and that we probably ought to be challenging. And I would assume that those are barriers that we're encountering across our work with those priority populations. So I'd be particularly interested to dive a little bit deeper in that in the future.
Great. Thank you, Sam.
Again, a lot of work. Susie just described a universe of work that probably take forever to try to get a handle on. The question I have though is, a lot of this stuff is statistically based, and as you know, I've been pushing pretty hard for us to do an actual on the ground street survey of people who are out of the workforce, of people who handle intake for employees in the schools, and really get a different kind of sort of state of the workforce barriers, if you will. What is the real potential of employment in Pittsburgh if we did certain things for people? We've got all these programs, but it's hard to tell if they're the ones that will be most impactful. And I know we have hard times getting people signing up for those. But to me, it's a real street job of going down, talking to people, making some very extensive surveying. And I don't know, you probably have to get some money for that somewhere to do that, but I would think it'd be terrific opportunity for kids in school, in colleges and universities to develop some skills in terms of interviews and that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is to come out with a picture for Pittsburgh, of what it's unemployed people really are at, where our kids are at. I base some of this on the DeWitt runs this Breaking Change program, and he takes people out to the trades and shows them, what they do to build buildings in various trades and all. And they come back tremendously enthused. But what's sad is at age 20 to 40, that for the first time seeing that type of work, for the first time having some sense that that's out there for them to set an objective towards. So to me, that's a barrier. It's a barrier of knowledge of what's out there. So at any rate, I just like to see us talk a little bit about how do we get beyond statistics, beyond people filling out forms, and really into a human interaction type survey that may get to the bottom, of really what's in people's heads. And in that's going to be some ugly stuff, I think. Some stuff we probably don't want to listen to, some people who really aren't motivated, or, some counterproductive policies that are out there that may need to be changed. But I think it's worth the risk.
That's a great suggestion.
You've been sitting on my shoulder the whole time we're scoping the state of the workforce report. So that has been in my mind as we work to develop what that looks like. So more to come on that, I promise. I haven't lost.
I absolutely agree. I think this kind of qualitative research will really enhance the quantitative research that you've been doing so beautifully. And I would love to see it in several areas. For example, the BankWorks program. It seems like a wonderful program, and it's been going on for a number of years. But how are these young people? What are they doing now? How are they feeling about being in finance, being in business? How has their experience been? This sort of survey qualitative response, I think I agree with Ike, absolutely.
Yeah, great observations. One other thing I'm just going to mention quickly and then move us on, because we're substantially over time at the moment, because it was so much good work to report, is a number of the reports that Susie put up were sort of pie charts for this group. If you haven't looked at them, you really should take some time on the website to look at them, because one of the hardest things in this field, I think, is to digest all of this voluminous information and present it in a way that is understandable and usable to the members of our community who need to understand it and use it. And I think the staff has done a remarkable job at doing that. So please do take a moment to go on the website, look at that data and those reports. And I think you'll see that for yourself, and any suggestions you have on improvement are welcome as well. So with that, let's move on to Talent Hub designation, Rob, and your report. And I'll just note the time for you. So if you could get through it as expeditiously as possible, it'd be good.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you, Susie, for that report. And thank you for all the great feedback on it. So almost 2 years ago when I started, most of you know, I really wanted to start a data and research policy department here at Partner4Work. And I remember going through, over months, going through meetings with Susie, sketching out how this could potentially look. And at that time, Susie was our chief program officer. And I think we got maybe 90 days in, and I knew that as we were looking for a chief policy and research officer, I needed a chief program officer soon after those meetings, because it was clear that Susie was the right person to kind of drive this work. So Susie, in 18 months, just want to say, we all appreciate the work that you and Dylan and your team have put into this. It really sets the baseline for where we need to go in the future. And it directly correlates to what Ike and Nancy or others are talking about. Now that we have this baseline statistical information, now that we know what's the what are people's experience with our local public workforce system, and what are those barriers that they are facing? And some of this is actually coming out in the PMO work that we're doing. We're finding that as we engage PMOs in different work between companies in our workforce system, barriers are raising up that we are able to mitigate that wouldn't have come up in other situations that people go through that Partner4Work can kind of step in and resolve or help mitigate. So we want to continue that work, especially with young people and understanding how they feel about the workforce environment here in the region and where they fit in, as well as you'll hear in my report about some of the reentry work that we're doing also, Sam. I know that you made some points around that, and I don't know if it's the next board meeting or the meeting after, but Carl will be doing a program update, and I really like for you all to hear around the work around how our work around reentry has grown over the past year and a half also, because it's grown significantly. So Talent Hub. So as many of you have heard, Pittsburgh was selected as one of 5 hubs by the White House in May of 2023. The 4 other cities selected are Phoenix, Columbus, Ohio, Augusta, Georgia, and Baltimore. Pittsburgh was selected for this initiative in part because the Pittsburgh MSA has received the 8th largest investment from the bipartisan infrastructure law in the nation. So that was a huge part of why the White House was looking at Pittsburgh and our region to do this work. The White House chose to do the groundwork in the mayor's office, knowing that mayor's offices are the engine for change in cities. Partner4Work is honored that Mayor Gainey has selected Partner4Work as the lead agency for this work in 4 key industries: infrastructure, water, advanced manufacturing and biomanufacturing, broadband, and clean energy. So I know Chief Wheatley left the call, but we really thank him for his support in us doing this work. Each Talent Hub city is paired with a different federal department for technical assistance. And we are fortunate that the Department of Labor is the lead federal agency for this region. DOL staff came into Pittsburgh earlier this month, held kickoff meetings with Partner4Work in the mayor's office, as well as engage other regional partners in our region. Our shared work will be to identify areas in federal, state, and local investments where employers, project leads, and the public workforce system can come together to build job quality, infuse worker voice, and create equitable career pathways for job seekers within our region. So DOL will provide the technical assistance to help create alignment between labor and management and equity, building off worker voice initiatives in other cities, and enhance the job quality efforts already underway in the area here. So key partners in this work will include labor, employers, owners of large projects like the city and the airport authority, the Pittsburgh Area Workforce Funders Collaborative, convened by Partner4Work, and the network of CBOs and educational institutions working to prepare job seekers for success in our region. So together, we're working toward a public event at the end of the summer to announce the commitments and identify collective wins for our regions. We will continue to keep you all informed as our efforts develop. So weekly, we meet with the Department of Labor and the White House to kind of continue to build and create this initiative. So there's, a lot of things that still need to come together, but we're proud as an organization and as a board to be involved in this initiative. Any questions around this? And some I'll be able to answer, some are unknown, but it's a tremendous opportunity for the city, the region, and this board moving forward. All right. Well, if no questions, should I dive right into my report, Laura? All right.
Well, you're on mute.
Yes, please.
Okay. I know we're short for time here, so I'll try to be very quick about this. But I'll start with reentry. Earlier this morning, we accepted nearly $800,000 in youth reentry funding from labor and industry. These funds will be used to provide 40 young adults within the justice system opportunities around targeted workforce training programs that are tied directly to employers in healthcare, construction, financial services, and other high growth sectors. Partner4Work will work with Operation Better Block, the Foundation of Hope, and Allegheny County Jail Collaborative to develop a pilot that focuses on connecting young adults who have been incarcerated or served in an alternative sentencing programs to a holistic reentry program that provides case management, mentoring, supportive services, training, GED and credit recovery, and other support to obtain quality employment. Also this week, Partner4Work submitted a $4 million proposal to the Department of Justice through which we propose to provide coaching and technical assistance to community-based reentry programs in Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Baltimore, and Cleveland. If successful, we will award $2.8 million in grants over 5 years to build capacity and sustainable fund development and coordination between corrections, probation, and service providers, and improvement of programming. While this is a very, very competitive funding, we believe we are uniquely positioned for this as we don't do direct services at Partner4Work and typically assist other organizations. The contractors we're working with to supplement this project are experts in corrections, best practice implementation, and research. We expect to hear more about this award in October if successful. Next, on to our, any questions about the reentry work before I go to the strategic plan? All right, strategic plan. Earlier this month, several members of the Partner4Work team met to continue and build out KPIs on our strategic plan to report to you accurately and succinctly on how we are progressing on our outcomes. Some of the discussion points this week included what is meant to reach priority populations, how to find qualitative metrics on how we are serving employers, job seekers, and our providers, and what it means to be an inclusive workplace. We continue to work through our KPIs and defining certain strategies and tactics that with plans to report to you more effectively in September. Now on to governance. As many of you know, a draft governance policy was circulated to local workforce areas for public comment. Among other things, changes proposed included restricting the authority of the executive committee, Partner4Work, and the PWDA, the Pennsylvania Workforce Development Association, and other workforce boards submitted responses urging the state to quash the draft policy. The policy was put on hold, and Partner4Work and a few other local areas have been selected to work on a revised policy that mirrors the flexibility of WIOA. That work is to get way under soon, and I will keep you posted as on those developments as they get underway. And last, I'm pleased to share that since our last meeting, the research and communications team have produced a series of one-pagers called Road to Your Future, Career Opportunities in the Pittsburgh Region. These one-pagers are designed for educators, students, and parents to demonstrate the in-demand industries such as healthcare and construction. The data shows annual job openings, educational requirements, and median annual salaries. The documents are on the Partner4Work website under research, and I encourage you to look at them. Also on the Partner4Work website, the team has built out a robust section around job quality. We know that employers of all sizes across all industries have an opportunity to strengthen workplaces by implementing policies and practices that increase job quality. So please look at those. And to keep on time, finally, I'm proud to share that Partner4Work has produced its first annual report, which highlights our distinction as a workforce board and the number of individuals served in the last programmatic year, our success in providing our industry solutions also. The embargo report will be shared with you all following this meeting, and I look forward to hearing your feedback prior to the release later this summer. So any questions around that? All right, I try to rush through it as fast as I can. Anything that I didn't pull out, the things that I pulled out here, I'll definitely put in the our next board meeting, but they can wait due to time.
Hey, Susie, can you, or Rob, you're putting a lot of things on the chat. Is that something we can send out afterwards so we can keep those and be able to refer to them? That would be really helpful.
Sure, we'll construct an email and shoot that out to everyone. Thank you for that,
Great.
Debbie.
Thanks.
We'll also send the PowerPoint that Susie put together so that folks can take a minute and dive through it a little more deeper.
Great. Any other comments, thoughts, questions, observations on Rob's report? And Rob, thank you for getting us back on time. That was masterful. Anything else from anyone? Okay, I think I know I speak for everybody to say to Rob, to Susie, to Kristen, I mean, it is just such a privilege for all of us to be able to work with people of such unbelievable talent and commitment and expertise. So, I mean, really sincere and profound thanks to all of you for all that you do. And I'm just going to sort of take the chair's prerogative here to thank the board members too. And I think one of the things we see here is that board members are not only bringing really thoughtful ideas to this meeting, but they are putting, getting their hands dirty in between meetings and doing substantive programming and really working with the Partner4Work. So thank you to all of you for what you do. Any new business before we open it up for public comment? I have to scroll through all of you because there are so many of you. All right, seeing none, let's open it up for public comment. If we do have any public comment, just a quick reminder that all speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have anyone who would like to offer public comment? Okay, hearing none, I will adjourn this meeting with thanks again to all of you. Have wonderful, long, hopefully 4th of July weekends, a safe and happy and productive holiday, and we will look forward to seeing all of you in the next meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Rob.